Strikes on targets in Gaza, with one hitting the Hamas chief in the territory Yahya al-Sinwar. In response, Hamas militants fired more rockets at cities in southern Israel. Meanwhile, the International Relations Department has released a number for a toll-free line which South Africans who have relatives in Gaza can call to establish whether their loved ones are safe or not. The number is 012-351-1000. 012-351-1000. We'll try and keep that number on the screen for the duration of the show. Meanwhile, thousands.
This is the moment an Israeli missile strike destroyed a high-rise building housing the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and other office spaces and homes in Gaza on Saturday. The owner of the building and journalists here are pleading on the phone with an Israeli intelligence officer who warned them the attack was coming and to evacuate. Al Jazeera's correspondent Wael Al-Dadou reporting that they didn't have time to grab their equipment. Israel says the building housed assets belonging to Hamas's military intelligence, the latest of many such attacks that Israeli forces say are response to the thousands of Hamas rockets fired toward Israel in the last few days. Meanwhile, the civilian toll of the conflict and civil unrest across Israel and the Palestinian territories is mounting. There are fears that Gaza's only power station may run out of fuel within days, and foreign aid is starting to trickle in. Morocco is sending 40 tons of medical supplies, food and blankets to the West Bank and Gaza. Egypt is also sending ambulances into Gaza to try and bring Palestinians back to Egyptian hospitals. Diplomatic efforts to stop the crisis have shown no sign of progress.
Meanwhile, thousands of protesters in a number of European cities marched in support of Palestine as the worst violence in years rages on between Israel and Palestine in the Gaza Strip.
Thousands of demonstrators marched from Hyde Park to the Israeli embassy in Kensington after a week where at least 126 people have been killed in Gaza and 7 people have been killed in Israel. The demonstration in London was organized by Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Friends of Al-Aqsa, Palestinian Forum in Britain, Stop the War Coalition, Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, and the Muslim Association of Britain. Organizers of the march said they were protesting against evictions of Palestinians from Sheikh Jarrah, a predominantly Palestinian area of East Jerusalem, the bombing of Gaza, and the deaths of Palestinian civilians. In Berlin, firecrackers were hurled at an Israeli reporter for the Khan public broadcaster. Antonio Yamin said she was attacked by demonstrators when they heard her report on the protest in Hebrew. In Madrid, about 2,500 people, many of them young people wrapped in Palestinian flags, marched to the Puerta del Sol Plaza in the city center.
We have come to defend the Palestinian people from genocide they are suffering because they are being killed. We have been silent for a lot of years. It is time for us to go out and speak for all those Palestinians who are dying these days and defend them. Because if we don't, no one else will.
We want the whole world to know what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people. It is genocide. It's not a conflict or war. They are being massacred. And so the whole world must become aware and put an end to this once and for all.
With the violence in Israel and Palestinian territories escalating, these pro-Palestinian protests are likely to continue.
We're now joined by SABC foreign editor Sophie Mokoena for an update. A very good morning to you, Sophie. Thanks for making the time.
Good morning, Desiree.
Well, what happened yesterday was unprecedented. What has been the reaction from the international community?
I think the main focus yesterday in terms of the reaction was the United States of America. the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, did make a call to the Palestinian President, Mahmoud Abbas, where they discussed generally the relations between the two countries and also what is happening currently in Jerusalem and also in the West Bank. And the President of the United States of America has again emphasized the fact that America is gearing itself to engage the two parties, that Israel and Palestine, to ensure that they find a solution. We always talk about a lasting solution, but when you look at all the leaders of the United States of America who have been in power since the conflict started, none of them has been able to really bring a lasting solution to the standoff in that conflict. The problem here also I think it was on Wednesday, the President of the United States of America did call Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And many people around the world perceived that as America again taking sides. And yesterday, after the bombing of the building that is housing media, and not only Al Jazeera, because people seek expediency by saying, you have Al Jazeera that is biased, but you have other media houses who were in the same building, and most of them, their headquarters are in the United States of America. And therefore, the fact that some people are saying it was an attack directed at Al Jazeera because Al Jazeera is biased, the question is, what about other media houses that are there? But also you have ordinary Palestinians, ordinary citizens staying in those buildings. And therefore, when you attack the building, you are really attacking the livelihoods of not only those people you are attacking, you are targeting Hamas, you are actually causing challenges and problems and mayhem and misery to ordinary people. And they also spoke about a decision by the United States of America to resume line to assist or lifeline to assist the Palestinians with humanitarian assistance. And also President Biden saying that his administration supports that Palestinians have a right to live in dignity, security, freedom, and also be able to access economic opportunities, because we know they are really suffering, the Palestinians. They don't have access to economic opportunities. So it was some sort of a better approach to the question of the Middle East conflict, because at least President Biden was able to do or to undo the damage by calling Palestine and also speaking to the leader of the Palestinian Authority.
Any reaction from President Cyril Ramaphosa?
The last time we heard of President Ramaphosa's direct reaction, let me say presidency, not DERCO in this case, was when he was closing the ANC-NEC meeting, just a general statement or reiterate what is ANC's position on the question of Middle East, and particularly that conflict between Palestine and also Israel, and also maintaining the ANC policy that has been there for many years, supporting the Palestinian people and also their quest for freedom. But in terms of government statement from the president as head of state, an ally of the Palestinian people, South Africa, we haven't had any statement. Only DERCO issued a statement condemning what's happening and the attacks leveled at both sides, but also, as you have indicated, giving those numbers for South Africans who might be trapped in that area where there is conflict and fighting.
Sophie, what can we expect going forward or in the short term today? What do we expect to happen?
I think conflict will continue And secondly, the main story today is the meeting of the Security Council in New York at the United Nations. The 15 member countries will meet and try and come up with a statement in line with what would have been agreed on. But it is going to be a problem because these permanent 5 members, they don't approach the Palestinian-Israeli question in a same manner or same eye, or they have the same policy. And therefore, there's fear that the United States of America, as the current chair of the Security Council, will try and water down the text. And therefore, it can even use its veto power if they are not happy about the content of the statement. And therefore, it's not clear whether they will finally today agree on a strong statement that speaks to action as well, not only just talk. But unfortunately, the permanent 5 with their veto powers can again today demonstrate their powers in terms of veto power, with Russia having hostile relations currently with the United States of America. I can't see them agreeing on a statement unless the Secretary General of the United Nations is able to convince all parties to come up with a statement at least, because the past 2 meetings, nothing came out of that meeting. I'm also disappointed that the Africa group is not vocal this time around. The Africa group at the United Nations, and also those who are representing Africa in the Security Council. If I were to mention a country like Kenya, we were part of the Security Council as rotation system takes effect. But unfortunately, now you have Kenya. I haven't had a word from Kenya. While on the other hand, you have the AU that has issued a statement condemning the bombardment and also firing of rockets and also firing of missiles. In other words, taking an independent, not biased position in terms of the lives of ordinary people in both countries, that they must be protected.
Sophie, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed as we watch to see if the fighting stops and also if the international community is able to rally and come through to assist. Thank you so much for your time.